Alrighty, thank you everybody for joining us today. I am Emma Martins. I'm the secretary here at Theresa Street. I'm coming to you from my classroom, as you guys are as well. So I teach fourth grade math down in Miami, Florida with Teach for America. And as an alum of Dartmouth High, I'm so excited to be able to have this opportunity to hear about unified sports. I think when I was there, it was just getting started, so I didn't get to fully experience it. So I'm excited to hear the growth. We are coming to you from Theresa Street, our local nonprofit that raises money and awareness for organizations throughout the South Coast doing meaningful and measurable work. Our specialty is doing fun events, raising money through sporting events and different things that the community can engage with. Our most famous one is our Theresa Street Summer Classic. But this meeting today is more focused on unified sports and how we are partnering together for our next 5K. So our video today is a part of our Community Partners series, which is designed to educate ourselves and our community about the incredible work being done by the organizations that we're partnering with. If you want to see more of those, check out our YouTube channel to see our previous videos with North Star and Learning to Cope, our other partners. Our main job here is just to really be able to understand the missions and be able to align our mission at Theresa Street with the missions of the organizations that we're working with. So if you guys want to introduce yourself and go ahead and explain where you're from.
I'm John Breault. I'm the lead teacher of special education here at Dartmouth High School and one of the unified sports coaches.
I am Ashley Kocur-Pierpont. I am a special education here at Dartmouth High School for the PALS program, which stands for Promoting Academics and Life Skills, and I am the assistant coach for Unified Basketball.
Awesome. So John, if you want to go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what unified sports are and how you guys are running that over at the high school.
Yeah, so unified sports is just simply an endeavor that uses sports as a vehicle to help bring together students with both intellectual disabilities and those without, and it puts them on the same sports team, and it truly uses the sport. We have basketball, as Mrs. KP alluded to, and we have track and field, as well as a bowling club. So it uses those three sports just to promote inclusion, acceptance, and truly foster those aspects through sports. So it's a lot of fun. It's been a great endeavor here that we've had now for I think 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a while. And I know you said, Emma, that you were at Dartmouth High when it was really first getting started. But it's so cool to see how much it's grown and how our school community has truly accepted students with and without disabilities. And they've really created a climate that embraces that inclusivity and the acceptance.
Yeah, and every year we get more and more surprised with how large our teams are getting. We have so many students who want to be partners on our team. So the numbers just keep growing and growing, and it's really exciting for us just to see how inclusive Dartmouth High really is.
That's awesome. So who are you guys able to compete against? Like how many other local schools have the unified sports as well?
It depends on the sport itself. I think it's a great question, but overall, I mean, we're competing against local schools just like your traditional varsity soccer team would, or your varsity football team. And so we go up against schools like New Bedford and Durfee, for those of you familiar with the area. And really, local schools all around us are really starting to at least have one unified program, if not more. And schools that have been a little bit more established, like ourselves, traditionally have both a basketball team in the fall and then a track team in the spring. So it's been really exciting to watch it grow statewide, and more schools are getting invested into unified. And I think it's perfect for both the special ed population as well as, their regular ed peers, because there are a lot of takeaways from both sides of it, which is exciting.
And it's even expanding within our district. Our middle school just had their very first unified basketball game. So not only is it expanding across the state with other schools, but our own district is also starting to expand as well.
That's awesome to hear. So are you guys finding that your athletes are more prepared come Special Olympics time in June?
We were actually just talking about that. I have a few freshman students this morning, our very first unified track practices today, and they were saying, oh, I'm really nervous about practice today. And we were like, guys, it's the same thing that you've been doing. You do the Special Olympics day games every year. We've been practicing during our adaptive phys ed class with Mr. Capello. So we're working on all of the skills constantly. So it's great to see them be able to apply those skills to the actual teams.
That's so awesome to hear. So in terms of getting the community involved, and especially us here at Theresa Street, how can we continue to support your mission and support you guys as a whole in your expansions?
Yeah, I think the 5K this year is going to be such a great endeavor that really does continue this partnership. And the Summer Classic was incredibly generous a few years ago to partner with our Special Olympics program. And I'm just going to kind of take a step back and explain the difference. But Special Olympics is solely for students with disabilities, and that's their avenue to participate in sports. It's a national program. I mean, everyone has kind of heard of Special Olympics at one point or another. And we're very fortunate that Dartmouth is like a community center for Special Olympics. We host regional events that are qualifiers for Special Olympians to then participate on like the state or national level. So it's been invested in this community already. What Unified does is take it a step farther, and it takes the aspect of having your special education students and it puts them on those same team as their regular ed peers together. So Special Olympics doesn't really include regular education students as like a peer helper or a teammate, whereas Unified Sports does. So I think it was really great when the Summer Classic partnered with our Special Olympics program, because it was the seed that needed to get planted to keep these community endeavors and keep these connections alive. And then I think this 5K is going to be fantastic. We're going to have our team there that day. We're hoping that a couple of our team members actually run the 5K. But as you know, the Theresa Street Unified lap to start off the day is going to be really cool for our athletes that maybe can't participate in a 5K to be involved and for the community to see what it's all about. And I'm excited for that day as a whole, because I think it will allow community members to understand what we're trying to do here with the concepts of, acceptance and inclusivity. And it also gives us an avenue with a vendor like yourself at Theresa Street to push both of our initiatives out into the community a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it will be really important for our community to see the work that the schools are doing, especially if you don't have any high school students yet, to be able to go out there and see that this is a program that maybe your middle school or elementary school child can eventually participate in, is really going to be a great success for everybody on that day. So what do you guys feel is the most challenging part of running the Unified Sports?
I feel like the most challenging part is just being able to manage the number of students that want to be involved. Like I said, every year it's growing bigger and bigger, which is awesome, but it also is a lot to manage when there's only a couple coaches at once. So I know John can talk more about Unified Track, how large the team is. We have a lot of people who are coming in to volunteer to help out with the track practices and the meets.
I agree. It's such a good problem to have, but just managing how big it has gotten is the difficult part. But I think that speaks volumes to what this program can do, right? And for us to be able to use Theresa Street as a partner to show the community members that wouldn't have traditionally, known about Unified Sports or understood it, it's so cool to be able to show them what this is all about and the impact that can kind of resonate throughout the community. I mean, we've had so many kids that have jumped on board as peer partners that are planning to go away and study, pre-med in college, that all of a sudden reverse course and they're like, I want to get involved with special education or occupational therapy. And it's just really cool to see the impact that it has on students that end up being our community members. So I think it's a good challenge to have in trying to manage it, but at the same time, it makes it that much more rewarding too.
Yeah, that was one of our questions when we were preparing, was how do you kind of rein in the peer partners, where it's like you can kind of control the group so that they are there for support and less there for like the pleasure of just being there. I know in high school you kind of get that group that's like, oh, we're just gonna go and hang out. But it sounds like you guys have really mastered that level. And I know that the special ed programs in Dartmouth High are really, really, really strong. And I know that it helped me to get where I am and helped me to see like what focus I wanted to take in college. And I know I know 4 or 5 people that have also worked really closely with your team, Mr. Capello, throughout the years. And just the whole special ed program at Dartmouth is really strong and supportive of both populations. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think John and I are both here because when we were in high school, we were working with Mr. Capello and helping out with the Special Olympics, and we were learning partners with the class that I'm in now. So it's nice to see that the students that we're teaching now are sort of coming full circle and doing the same things that we did.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
too, for the community members that might not be familiar with, with our school system or our setup, but Mrs. KP teaches in a classroom it's small. It's what we call in education like sub-separate. So her class really stays in her classroom for most of the day. These are students that have, more severe intellectual disabilities or physical disabilities that kind of prevent them from accessing a typical school curriculum. And I think it would be good, Ash, if you kind of speak to like what Learning Partners is, because I think that's really our feeder system
Mhm.
for all of these endeavors, whether it's unified sports or Special Olympics.
Yeah, so in addition to the caseload of students that I have that I work with, we work on like functional academic skills. So we work on ELA, math, and social skills within my program, and then they go out into their regular ed, like elective classes. So we have tons of different art classes that they take, all different types of PE classes. So in addition to that, I also teach a class called Learning Partnerships, where we have regular ed student volunteers who are able to come in. Each period, I have anywhere from like 4 to 6 learning partners, and they help out with my students. So if I have a student that's going into a ceramics class, I'll have a learning partner go with my student to make sure that they're able to access the curriculum that's being taught there and help them out with any modifications that the teacher might be making for them. And it's a great program because my learning partners end up creating really great relationships with my students. And then as a result, they want to get involved in our unified athletics program. So I think I have like 3 learning partners this semester who have never done have never done unified track in the past. And they're letting me know, oh yeah, we signed up for unified track. So it's really exciting to see that students that have never really been involved before with unified sports through learning partnerships end up wanting to spend more time with my students. So they join these unified teams, which is why our numbers keep growing and growing every year.
Yeah, and I think that the relationship aspect, right? That was one of the best things when we were presented with the idea to like start unified sports here. It was how we wanted to answer the question of how could we create meaningful relationships that weren't just lasting for one period in the school day, right? It wasn't just an hour during the day that you made a connection with someone that might be a little bit different than you. That was a connection that could then last through the school day into like an extracurricular, which most kids in high school get to experience, right? And that was the second thing is we were so enticed by the idea that every other kid in regular education has theater, they can have sports, they can have music. There are plenty of things for them to do to get involved. Whereas this population of special ed students really gets one day a year at Special Olympics. That's their day and they're in the limelight. And this was an awesome opportunity for us to use sports as a way to get them involved, create meaningful relationships that would go past the school day. And I think that's shown because like Mrs. KP said, our numbers are bigger and bigger. There's more of an impact on our community. And I think this partnership will just kind of boost that along even more, which is exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that I did learning partnership when I was there, and it was definitely something that I looked forward to from freshman year, just from hearing about it. And then finally, when it was my turn to do it senior year, it was something that changed the trajectory of like a lot of decisions that I made. It really gave you that opportunity to make the connections. But like you said, John, it's really important that these students are being able to experience the everyday high school life that regular educational students get to have. So that's the program is really awesome. And I'm so glad that you guys are continuing to push through with it. So in terms of goals, where do you guys see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see the program? What do you see happening here?
Man, that's tough. Like we don't want to sound like, a mute record here, but the growing is tough. So I don't know, in 5 years, are we going to have 4 different sports per season?
There you go.
I know we're hearing about all of these different things. There's like bocce, there's baseball, there's all of these different things that I don't know. In 5 years, we might have all of these different teams.
That would be awesome. Getting some bocce ball out there.
One of the partnerships that we've actually connected with, which is great too, is the University of Massachusetts at Boston. And they have a center for social development and learning. And we've kind of partnered with them for the last 3 years. They're doing some studies on the impacts of unified sports and the impacts socially for kids, both with and without disabilities. And one of the connections, I sat on a call last week and somebody is doing volleyball right now and soccer. So I was like, oh man, like, is that what's coming next for us? Like, we're going to do multiple sports at once. What's the aim? But with the growth, I think one of the realistic things that we've talked about is having more than one team. And what we've found in our area for schools that geographically are just getting started, their numbers are a lot smaller. So they may be fortunate enough to have 10 kids on a roster for a basketball team when we're coming to each game with 35. So what we're looking at is as we grow, we're hoping to make it almost like two teams, a team A and a team B, or a team 1 and a team 2. And that way everybody has the chance to be involved. The last thing we want to do, and I know Ms. KP will say the same, is we don't want to turn anyone away. It's such a cool endeavor. It's so powerful and meaningful that the more people that can get involved, whether that's through the community or through our school system, is the better.
Yeah, and I think that's something that John and I have talked about in the past, like, do we need to cut down our numbers? And at the end of the day, it's like, we don't want to discourage anyone from becoming more involved with our students. So if we have to make multiple teams, we'll make multiple teams, but we've managed to make it work so far.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things too is we added bowling like 4 years ago. So that wasn't something that was, always at the forefront of this. And we had a fall sport and a winter spring sport. So to add something in the winter where kids wouldn't go 4 or 5 months without having anything was really important to us. So we added we call a bowling club. So it's not affiliated with, varsity sports or the MIAA. And it's great because it gets a different population of kids. It gets to the population that didn't want to go out for a sport. They want to be involved in something different. So it's a really cool way for us to do that. Maybe bocce is the next thing. We have a bocce club in the fall, or you're on the unified basketball team as a sport. So who knows?
But
That's
bowling
awesome.
also helped to keep it so that our kids are involved in something. They have the option to be involved in something year round, so that they're used to being able to hang out with their friends after school in these sort of activities that their typical peers are also doing.
That's great. So I know you guys have spoke a lot about your peer partner, that population growing as each year passes. What about the number of special ed athletes? Is that number also growing, or do you have a hard time convincing those students to sign up and participate?
No, we never have a problem. Actually, our numbers are growing this year. I have a junior who just finally joined the unified basketball team. It took a couple of years of convincing, but she has finally joined. So it's nice because for the students who are a little hesitant in the beginning to join, when they see their friends and they see that the learning partners are also going with their friends after school, they're like much more likely to want to join the following year because they see that everyone is having a good time.
Yeah, and I think you're in education, so numbers change from year to year, but we definitely don't have a problem. I think the nicest part, as Mrs. KP spoke about earlier, is now that we're going down toward the middle school level, it's just this environment that kids are used to. Yeah. So the whole school is starting to get used to the inclusion and the acceptance, and that's a team that we can cheer on or we can participate on. And that just resonates because then they're ready for the transition to high school because they've already seen it. So it's just really cool that it's becoming such an embedded part of like our school community. I don't think we'll ever have a problem of recruiting kids or seeing numbers and that kind of thing.
That's so awesome. So are you guys able to help rally some of these schools around us that aren't in unified sports yet? Like, do you guys have a plan to get like local schools? Like, I'm not sure if Voc has a school, has programs like this or anything like that. Do you guys have a plan to help show them the ways kind of?
Yeah, Mrs. KP and Mr. Capello and I are really fortunate that we've done a lot of work with Special Olympics. We actually have one coming up, an engagement where we're going to present to a board or panel of I guess listeners or whoever's going to tune in. But it's going to be broadcast, just like we're doing here with this webinar. And so we're working a lot with schools around us to try to get more involvement. And one of the schools that we just helped out quite a bit was New Bedford. A really large school in an urban setting, like where you're teaching down in Florida, that just wasn't able to keep and be consistent with establishing a program. So, we worked to really create a partnership with one of their phys ed teachers, and they're just starting track and field this year. So that's so exciting because here's a school where their population is certainly needy of it and worthy of it, It was just making an established relationship. A lot of the schools around us, though, have done a really good job in the last 3 or 4 years of really jumping right in. And I think, like Mrs. KP said, once they participate in it or get that first experience, they're hooked. So from there, once you're hooked, that's the easy part. It's what else can we do, or what more can we do? So
that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear. This is awesome, awesome stuff. You guys, it's so exciting to hear. It's so exciting to be a part of. I'm really looking forward to the event and the Unified Lap, and especially. I think that that's going to be awesome. I know we have a few different people that will get to be there for the event and cover it, including local newspapers. So that will be very exciting. That we'll be able to get just unified sports more attention, and the more attention, the better. And especially really be able to rile the community up. So hopefully they can help you guys reach your Special Olympics goal and all of those sorts of things.
Thank you. I know it's something we're looking forward to. We're excited for the partnership. I think it's great for our kids and our school, especially, to learn about Theresa Street and all the great work that you all are doing, and the community partnerships that you're building, because it's just going to help us, right? Everybody graduates at 18, so they're members of that community. So we're really excited for the partnership, and even more excited for April 30th.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.